Hello and welcome back to the Lenko Show. This is episode number 137, the place where we talk about all things human performance, whether it's nutrition, training, mindset, all of it. That's what we go through on this podcast. And today we are going to be going through part two of Chris's Ironman. So, jogging back to the previous episode, just a quick recap. Chris has done about 12 weeks worth of training, no open water swims in preparation for one of the hardest Ironman events on planet Earth. So we are forcing him to relive the experience. We're going to be going through the actual event itself today. Last time out, I don't know if you've listened to it or not yet, he was standing on the beach looking at the water, ready to go at about 6 o'clock in the morning, thinking, game on. Or were you? Chris, talk us through it.
Yeah, so on the day I was down there, checked everything, and so I had decided. So they set off in waves. The pros set off first. It goes pro men at I think it was 10 past 7, pro women at 7:15, and then everyone else sets off in waves from 20 past 7, so 5 minutes after the pros onwards. And the faster people kind of self-select themselves to the front, and then slower people towards the back. So for those of you who didn't listen to the previous episode, I had done one lap of the swim at a slow, relaxed pace. Relaxed. I don't know if it was relaxed, but at a very steady pace the day before. And I kind of knew where I was going to be. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start near the back, out the way, and, steady my way through. As you mentioned, Alex, I felt the same way that you felt, which is I just got to get myself through the swim. If I get through the swim, I think I'll be okay. So yeah, I started it towards the back wave. Ben went off with the pros, the ladies went off, and then it was filtering forward, filtering forward, filtering forward. And I had got two swimming caps on and my goggles. And as my wave started setting forward, got into the water, pull the goggles over my face, uh, and I'm wading out. There's few people have already dived in and started swimming. Honestly, I get it if you're a pro, but for me, at that point, I was walking faster than people were swimming, so it made no sense. I was just like, I'm just going to wade out until I get to this part, and then obviously goggles on my face, face in the water, start swimming, and just seawater seeping into my goggles immediately. I was like, oh, that's annoying. Well, while I'm still here where I can stand up, I'll amend that and fix that immediately. So I stood up again and I'm playing with them, put them back on, testing them, facing the water, fine in that position. As soon as I start turning, it's not having it. I'm like, oh my days. Then someone swum into the back of me, and I was like, okay, right, well, I need to not just stand here because this isn't helping anyone. So, right, well, I'm just gonna have to figure it out. Let's start swimming, get out of the way, and then figure it out. So I put them on, I set off, and obviously they were full of water. I realized every time I looked to my left to breathe to my left, it was pouring in. So it was clearing out a little bit and then pouring in. So I mean, it was really annoying, but I could have probably carried on. And every time I went to the right, it was pouring out of the left still. And it was just like clagged up, so nothing really happening. So every time I went to my left, I kind of had a little bit of relief on my left eye. Anyway, I did this for about 2 minutes and I thought, this is absolutely outrageous. I've got at the very least an hour, at the very least an hour of this. There's absolutely no chance I'm lasting an hour like this. So I need to do something. So I attempted to go into breaststroke to fix my goggles, so to sit up and like just fix them whilst still moving. And I very quickly realized how buoyant, obviously, because of the salt in the ocean, it's more buoyant anyway. Then I'm wearing a wetsuit, so it's super buoyant. So the second I pulled my head up like this, it just pulled my feet up behind me. And I felt like, when you see these car, at theme parks, you get those pirate ships that are just like curved. I was just like curved in that position. I was like, well, this is really uncomfortable on my back. So honestly, I didn't know what to do. I tried fixing him, tried going into front crawl again, and he just wasn't having it. Every time facing the water, just water seeping in. And I thought, I have no idea what's going on here. I'm feeling around the goggle lenses, everything feels okay, it's fine. I don't understand. I don't understand. When I'm pulling them, they're not coming off my face. So I thought, well, they're sealed on. So I don't really understand what's going on here. Um, so I was just kind of battling with it, and I can only explain that part to you, Alex, is I was in my head just like over. I wouldn't say I was overthinking. My brain was moving at a million miles an hour, just rattling through different ideas as to what the hell I could do. So I think I'd ended up swimming for about 10, maybe 15 minutes like this, where I'm not swimming really. I'm kind of just moving. I am making some progress, but I'm figuring out what on earth I'm going to do. And as it were, what I decided was I recalled actually a conversation that me, you, Fiona, and Ali had one time where she was saying, we were talking about when I had my initial shoulder injury at the start. She said about, oh yeah, if your shoulder's starting to feel like really bad or painful from obviously doing your front crawl, then just switch it to backstroke if you need to get moving. Obviously, she was just talking about getting distancing while training and things like that. Anyway, that came through my head, and I thought, well, I don't need my goggles if I'm on my back because my head's out of the water. So as long as I can breathe, like surely that'll be okay. So that's what I did. I rolled onto my back and I started backstroking. Bear in mind, even though there was some backstroke programmed in my training to do some like drill work and things, I'd not done any backstroke in the sessions. So yeah, first open water swim. Well, technically it was my third now because I'd done it the day before and the day before that. But third open water swim, first time backstroking. And I honestly, I did not know what else to do. And as I mentioned in the last episode, I had struggled so much with sighting and seeing where I was going. I thought, you know what? This could be the way that I end up having to do it. So I started backstroking and I was making some progress. I was obviously moving forward, didn't have to worry about my goggles because they're now out and looking up. And as I'm stroking, I keep hitting people's feet with my hands. And I realized what actually was happening was I was actually backstroking pretty well. But every time I hit someone's feet, I needed to roll over, see where I was going, like what's going on here? Because you're a bit disoriented, especially on your back, and you can't see the sun's coming up and the light's coming across you. All you can kind of see is every time if you look forward, you can see people coming towards you. And I was kind of gauging where I was going based on where they were going. Now, that wasn't the best plan, as I found, because I think this was about 25, 30 minutes in. I mean, I have no idea where I was time-wise, but I was about maybe halfway coming back across the coast on that first lap. So, or a little bit less.
That would have been about 30 minutes in. So when I woke up, you'd already started your swim and you were coming towards the end of your first lap.
Right, okay.
So
Okay.
then we'll talk about what happened after that. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, and I looked across to my right and saw quite a lot of people, maybe, I don't know, 20 meters to my right. And then saw, as I keep going, I'm looking, I'm like, why are they all over there? And then I see a boy and I'm like, oh, look to my left. And there's a kayak probably about, I don't know, maybe 3 meters away from me. She's like pointing as if to say, go that way. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. I've drifted off. Fair enough. So I start backstroking back that way. Um, yeah, and there was just a lot of that while I was backstroking. It was very much a lot of that. I was going in a direction. I wasn't looking where I was going, but that was the only way I could see to get me through it. And yeah, getting a little bit lost, like drifting away from everyone else, and then getting myself back on course. And it was annoying to me because I wanted to. swim it properly. Like I felt like I was not doing, and well, I certainly wasn't doing what I'd been training for. Um, so every now and then I turned back onto my front and I was like, all right, let's see if I can. I'd have a play, get back on my front, facing the water, still not working. I'm like, I don't know how long I can do backstroke for. It felt fine doing it, and I mean, for me, I've got a decent, pretty strong, capable upper body. So I thought, actually, my lats are pretty strong for me. I might be all right with this, and my shoulders are all right. And I thought, actually, I'm getting in some good positions there. um, so yeah, I mean, the only thing that I could think, the thought that kept going through my head was because I was backstroking, it felt a bit silly. It felt a bit ridiculous, and I was like, I'm just just out on a leisurely swim in Lanzarote. Like that's all this is, and that was how I was kind of countering the negative thoughts like thinking, what are you doing? Like you'll never be able to last another 40 minutes. You're not going to make it around the first lap. All the negative thoughts that come in. There's a shark around there, all these different things. And I'm just thinking, I'm just having a nice swim up the coast in Lanzarote. Like, what a time to be alive. Couldn't think of anything better. Just a casual backstroke up the coast. Anyway, I got to, I don't know, maybe about 200 meters out. And I thought, I actually I can't do this back in. Like I'm gonna have to get onto my front. Like even if it's just my goggles filled with water, it's gonna look ridiculous, someone backstroking in. Because I don't know if other people do that. So I turned onto my front, and did the last 200 meters just like eyes pretty much closed, just breathing every three, obviously to the left, or pause out to the right, pause out. Um, yeah, and I mean, I don't know how long or how far it was, but again, got a little bit lost. I can't see, like my goggles are full of water, so I really can't see at this point. And I ended up going a little bit. I don't know how to describe it. So if you imagine you're coming in, on it wasn't quite a 90-degree angle, but you're swimming back across and then you turn in. Imagine 90 degrees for argument's sake, to make it simple to people that can't see and are listening.
Yeah, you basically turn right to go back towards the beach.
Yeah.
Yep.
But because of obviously the wash, the waves coming in and coming back, you turn right so you're facing directly towards the beach, but you don't swim that way. You try and swim that way, but the water takes you where the water takes you, if that makes sense. And if you're not
Yes.
looking and you're not correcting it with every couple of strokes or whatever, you go where you go. And
Yeah.
I was just drifting way, way, way far over to the far side. So I was swimming further than I needed to, but I just didn't know because I couldn't see. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to gauge off like, can I see anyone's feet? Can I see the boats? Because there's a lot of kayaks trying to direct you in. And eventually I just came straight in front of one, popped up because I saw like I guess an oar or a paddle. And they're like, this way, this way. So I'm like looking across, I'm like, geez, I've just been swimming that way for like 5 minutes. How have I ended up over here? So I get back in and I'm basically trying to keep my eyes up at this point, and it's maybe another 30 seconds. Get out, run across, and I'm like, right, there's absolutely no chance. I'm not going to get through it if I have to backstroke that again. I'm just not, because it was just so inconvenient and awkward having to not see where I'm going, not know what I'm doing, getting lost, swimming extra distance. So I was like, right, I'm just going to reset all of this. Same reset my headwear. So I took the top cap off, and as I pulled it, it pulled my goggles. Now, this was the reason that I'd got it on. So Ben had given me some good advice before we went out. He said, you put your bottom cap on, then your goggles, and then your top cap over the top. So that if someone hits and scrapes your straps, it's not going to pull your goggles off your head because you've got another hat there protecting it. But what I'd done is I'd got the cap somehow underneath on this left eye, underneath the lens of the goggle, which I don't really understand it because I definitely felt all the way around the lens because that's what I was doing when I was checking them. I was pulling them off my face, making sure there's no gaps, putting them back on.
Mm.
Anyway, I took that off, reset the other cap, put the goggle back on, and I just felt them like stick like deep into my eyes, and I was like, Oh my God. Oh my God. I
You're like,
think
I'm back.
I can't believe it. I've just fixed it. I think I've just fixed it. And so it was oh, I've just forgotten the name of it.
What?
An Aussie exit. So basically you do one lap, you get out. Fortunately for me, because if it hadn't been, I don't know what would have happened. You get out, run, I don't know, maybe possibly 100 meters back up the beach and then get back in and then do it again. And obviously, this is all happening as I'm running back up towards the start line to start my second lap. And I want to actually add as well that they actually tried to direct me through into the tent at this point because of the time on the clock. They just assumed that I'd done that. When I say they, the people that are outside the tent had just assumed that I was a finisher and that I'd finished my swim. And there was a moment when I looked towards them and they were telling me to go that way. I was like, yeah, go on then. Obviously, I didn't. I ran through and around and up the beach. But yeah, they were directing me, and then I think there was four or five other people that got out when I did, and they were just like bolt it straight up towards that tent, and then they come back out behind me because they'd obviously realised that the volunteer people there were just like instructing because they thought they'd done.
Oh.
So yeah, I
But to be
was
fair, I mean, you'd not actually been in there too long, but like that kind of time limit that you were in there, because I know I was tracking you, that kind of time limit would have been roughly when the pros were finishing their swim anyway, wouldn't it?
yeah
Because I think, like, I looked on the tracker and you were about 45 minutes in, you'd finished your first lap or you were pretty much at the end of it. But I know it turned out you had a bit of a problem with your tracker as well, because I remember watching it. I was lying in bed watching it, drinking a coffee, perfectly relaxed, like the complete opposite of you. And I was feeling really good about it for you. I was thinking this is brilliant because I was like, he's done his first lap, bang on pace. He's not gone too quick. He's gone at the pace that he wanted to go at. I thought, no problems. He'll get the next lap done, and then he's on, well, I say, not on easy street, but I think getting through the swim was always going to be the tricky bit. Um, but I believe you, you did tell me sort of post event. You said you got out after your first lap of the swim, and your initial thought was, "That's enough. That we don't need to do any more of
oh,
that.
yeah
That's enough of a swim." So,
yeah.
talk me through like your thoughts of like it's not exactly been an easy swim. You've had to combat the issues with your goggles, the emotional kind of roller coaster of dealing with goggles problems, fixing goggles, getting out, finish the swim. Fuck, I've got to do another lap. Like you know, those things all put together. What was your emotional well-being like in that moment?
That's a good question. I did think like I remember getting out that first lap and thinking that's more than a full day's work. That's a workout in itself, just that one lap. But I think I'd done absolutely the right thing for me by doing that one lap the day before because that is exactly the position that I landed in. Like, yeah, of course, you have your automatic thoughts that just flood in and they're like, this could be rough now, this is gonna be tough, you're gonna have to hang on, like you're not gonna make the time cap, all these different ridiculous things that you know aren't necessarily true. But I was clinging on to the fact of I was exactly on plan by the fact that the day previous I'd done that one lap, that full one lap, and now I was in that same position. I'd done it, and I only had one more to go. So I was in the headspace of that's more than enough of a workout. Like that was a distance and then a little bit more, if that makes sense. You know, like if you were to do, I don't know, a 30-minute run, like it's quite easy to do 30 minutes, 1 hour, maybe all right. But it felt like you'd done more than enough and then gone and done that again.
Yeah.
That was how I already felt after that first lap. Physically, honestly, I felt fine. And I think I was saved by the fact that I was more frustrated at what was going on with my goggles. I obviously saw the timer when I got out and I was like, okay, well, I have no idea how I've done that, but that's fair enough. That's okay, that position. And then yeah, I was just trying to fix the goggles as I was running up. Um, and because I fixed them, the second I fixed them, honestly, I, I can't explain. I felt jubilant. I felt jubilant. I was like, oh my God. Genuinely, I was like, I'm back in the game. I'm back in the game. I felt like I just found out that I was winning. That's what it felt like. Um, and I tell you what, that to double that as well, as I got back in the water, I could see someone struggling at the surface, like as he was just wading in, and he was trying to pull his tag on the back of his wetsuit to like almost open it. And I could see him and he looked like he was in distress. And I was like, obviously at this moment in time, I'm feeling great. So I'm feeling generous. So I'm like, you okay, mate? Is everything all right? And as he were, he spoke perfect English. He was obviously an English guy. And he goes, yeah, I think I've cut my neck. I've really, really hurt my neck. And I was like, do you want me to take a look? He was like, I think he's all right. I think it's just the wetsuit. I was like, you've got chamois cream on, right? And I only found out about wearing chamois cream like the day before anyway, even during the swim. So I knew to wear it for the bike. I'd not thought about wearing it for the swim. Obviously, Ben told me you should wear it for the swim. After I'd done a swim without chamois cream and then realized why. And this guy was like, what chamois cream? And I just, in that moment, I was like, oh my days, you're going to have the worst day. You are going to have the worst day. And no matter what happens to me now, it will not be as bad as what you're about to endure. I know that for sure. Um, so if anyone hasn't done swimming in a wetsuit before or open water swim, obviously there's the abrasion from the salt and the wetsuit, and it essentially where the suit digs in. So like if you look around my t-shirt, I imagine if you can't see it on your t-shirt, you've got your collar and it comes around your neck where the skin's not the best. It basically rubs and the salt water gets in there and gets against it and basically erodes at it and can give you
Yeah.
some pretty nasty scars and it really hurts because what's happening is obviously you're turning your head as you're breathing. Well, not necessarily turning your head, but you're turning your body. And so yeah, it's pretty nasty. And you know, you can get some pretty bad sores from that. And so yeah, that was exactly what this guy had basically signed up for. So in my head at that point, I was like, well, my day will never be as bad as that. So I'm gonna crack on now.
You're
So
like, at least I'm not you.
yeah, yeah. It was literally one of those humbling moments of, you know what, it could be so much worse. It could
Yeah.
be so much worse.
You carry on wading in and then start swimming off going, "Phew, sheesh. And I thought I had problems.
That's exactly how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. And I think it kind of reset my focus a little bit. It's like, okay, stop worrying about what's happened on that first lap. Let's go to work now. Uh, so yeah, I was able to front crawl for most of this one, which I was pretty pleased about. I don't remember what my time was, but I'm pretty sure that my backstroke and 15 minutes of flurrying around at the start was pretty much the same amount of time as it took me to do my front crawl, which I was pretty upset about. But you know, I remember getting lost a few times again, and I know if I just learned how to sight, that would have been significantly easier. But as I said in the previous one, we were prioritizing getting me through the Ironman, and little problems like that. You just like they're not necessarily things that you need to train. It's worth knowing them, and I know for now, but there was no point wasting my time if I couldn't even do a swim for that distance. So that was what we prioritized. Anyway, I got to like the last 200 meters again, where it was getting towards the cut and the turn in, and I was like, I had a conversation with myself in my head, and I thought that swim was far too far. That was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. That was like the first lap alone, as I said to you, and as I mentioned earlier, was more than enough. Second lap was just too much. That was silly. And I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna be the happiest man in the world when I get on that bike. And I was so excited, but also in my head, and I think this is one of the things that got me through. I was like, just to let you know, Chris, that bike is going to be the exact same as this swim in the sense of you're going to get maybe halfway and think that was more than far enough, and then you're going to have another half to go. Like you're not going to be comfortable on that bike. Like you still have a long, long way to go. And obviously, with it being one of the most arduous bike courses out there, it was going to be even worse than I anticipated. Nonetheless, nonetheless, I always say this to clients, Alex, I always say to people, if your if your natural physiological state, if you are trying to feel joy, your body is trying to feel joy, just embrace it and feel the joy. And then when the panic and the pain and all that comes, enjoy and embrace those too. So that's what I did. So I felt super happy as I'm getting out. I'm like, oh my God, I've done the swim. Like if nothing else goes right today, I did that swim. And I can safely say I didn't have it easy. I had a couple of issues and I got through it. I got through it. So I was proud of myself already at that point. And especially, I think every time I swim now, so I'm swimming 3 times, 4 times a week at the moment. I'm not a good swimmer, Alex. But people have said, "Well, you must be pretty good because you did an Ironman." I think what not my swimming technique got me through that. It was my head and the fact that I was just too stubborn to stop. And I was in a big event. I was like, "Well, I'm gonna finish because I'm here, aren't I?" It wasn't because I was a good swimmer. Yes, there has to be a level of work capacity, but I think as long as in your head you're thinking, I just got to get this done, I don't really think, like, obviously work capacity still plays a part, but I think it's the head that plays a bigger role at that stage. And that was certainly how that felt. So yeah, I got out, ran into the tent, and there was a guy, funnily enough, whose transition bag was the exact number one on from mine. So I don't recall what it was. I think I was like 582. He was number 583. So you go into the tent into transition and you change out of your wetsuit into whatever else you're going to wear. So you take your wetsuit and your swimming stuff off, pop it in a bag, take your cycling stuff out of a bag. And it was only at that point when I opened up my wetsuit and my tri-suit was absolutely soaking. And I thought, I might as well not even bothered. And then realized actually it wasn't seawater, it was sweat. Like you don't necessarily feel like you're sweating because you're wearing a wetsuit and the water's not hitting you from the outside, but you're really, really working. You're really working and you're really sweating. So obviously, honestly, drenched. He was absolutely drenched. A guy came over with some sun cream and he creamed me up. And I started, this geezer next to me wanted to borrow some cream. Sorry, wanted to borrow my towel. And I was like, yeah, okay. I'm not actually gonna need it again. So yeah, go for it. And then he started talking to me. He was like, is this your first Ironman? And I was like, yeah. I went, really? I was like, yeah, why? I went, why have you picked this one? And I said to him, I was like, it's all right, mate. I've not done the bike ride yet, but I'm thinking halfway through I might be asking myself the same question. And he was like, this is one of the hardest ones. So you've picked a good one, mate. You've picked a good one. I hope to see you at the finish line. He was like, yeah, you too, mate. And I was like, just out of curiosity, how many have you done? And he said he'd done six and he'd been doing them for the last 4 years. So he'd done a couple in a couple of years and then one per year. And off he went. And he was this big black guy. He was built like a brick shithouse. He was about 6'3", probably I wouldn't say he looked like a swimmer. He looked more like he belonged in the NFL. Like he was big, muscles, strong, powerful.
Hmm.
And he was a friendly guy. He was really friendly. Had a quick chat. He went off. I was like, wow, he's done six. That's pretty good. And obviously, the reason that I highlight that conversation is because it gets important in a second. But he also had made it clear that I was doing exactly what I'd set out to do. I know we had a conversation about why am I doing this. One of the things was why am I not just doing a marathon? Why not just do a swim? I wanted to do something that people would be like, oh, fair play. That's pretty good. Not that a marathon isn't like that, but in my head, I wanted one that was that and then a bit beyond. And that's what this was, going doing one of the hardest Ironmans. So I got all my stuff and I ran to my bike, got my bike, and I was super excited, super excited. And I've just remembered the first problem. I literally had a problem at the start of the bike, problem at the start of the swim, problem at the start of the run. You get to out of transition, and there's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Basically, a checkpoint, let's say, whereby you don't get on your bike before that point. You have to run to that point, and then you can get on your bike after it. So I got there, and I was like, "Oh, I should have a sip of my drink before I set off on this bike ride. I might as well. Took the bottle off the back of my bike. So I had basically the seat on the seat post, and there was a rack at the back of it that we fastened on. And it basically the bottle just goes behind the seat, hanging off the seat post. So it's secure, it's fastened, and it's a proper bottle holder, bottle cage, but it's just angled slightly behind the seat. Anyway, I get on the bike, I've got the bottle in the hand, I go to put it back, and I can't get it in. This is literally the first 10 seconds. I've got on the bike. Everyone, all the spectators are either side they're watching. I'm cycling. I'm trying to look nonchalant. And I'm turning. And as I'm turning, the bike's turning. I'm like, oh no, I'm not a skilled enough cyclist to do that. Okay, I'll just try and hold on one hand. So one hand on the handlebar here, reach back. And I'm like, I can't get in. I've not practiced at all. I have no proprioceptive ability to find where this bottle cage is and how to get my bottle in. I'm like, bloody hell, what am I going to do here? And the only thing that I could do was either get rid of the bottle, which you're not allowed to do. You're only allowed to do, well, actually, I probably could have at that point, but 100 meters either way at a checkpoint or wow, I can't even remember what they're called. That's how it's going on, where they give out the water
You know,
and
like a water station or aid station
yeah,
or
sorry.
yeah.
And I was nowhere near one, so I couldn't get rid of that. So I literally, about 30 seconds on the bike, had to get off and put my bottle into this bottle cage and then get back on again. I was like, oh, brilliant, brilliant. Got back on, set off, and yeah, I was ecstatic. I was so excited. I was so happy because remembering people from the last episode, I'd not ridden my bike. I'd maybe done two bouts of 20 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour because my bike had been in a workshop getting fixed for the 3 weeks previous.
Hmm.
So this is my first real bike ride in nearly 3 weeks. I'd got through the long sessions that I needed to get through. Um, but then I'd focused my energy on getting through the swim and doing the swim, and now I'm back on the bike again. And I'm just so happy. I'm so happy to be out of the water. So happy to be on the bike. I'm so happy to be in the position that I was in. I'm like, right, okay, let's get after it. Like, let's see what this bike ride's all about. Obviously thinking, part of me thinking, well, it's going to be awful, obviously. And then part of me thinking, it can't be that bad. Um, I remember going uphill for about half an hour and thinking, do you know what? I remember reading this was what my thought process was. I remember reading last night that the last 8K is downhill, which means the first 8K is uphill. So it's like, oh, great. So I've got a while to go yet before I hit a flat or a downhill. It's interesting because I've not done any big rides with groups of people. I've done all my riding, bar two rides on my turbo trainer at home. So I had no idea where I am in relation to everyone else and my ability and what I'm capable of. I know I'm an inexperienced rider, but it's interesting when you get out amongst a pack of people. I'm obviously not trying to kill myself. I'm riding at a very steady pace, thinking this is going to be a long bike ride. And yeah, you see kind of where you fit in with everyone else. And as it were on these uphills, as we're climbing, I'm not really putting any struggle in. And I'm going past everyone. I don't think anyone went past me. And on that first 8K, I'm seeing people coming like as I'm coming towards them and they're off in the distance and I'm just picking them off over time. And it's just obviously I'm a lighter athlete and obviously my legs are pretty powerful. So I'm sat, I don't need to get up out the saddle at this point. I'm sat and I'm just slowly churning through. I was in like some of the lowest gears all the way for that first half an hour or so. Just slowly, slowly picking people off, going past them. I'm like, oh, this is pretty sweet. And then I see the same guy again. So the guy that I'd spoken to in transition, that was the next number on from me, remembering, obviously he's done 5 or 6 Ironmans. I think I can't remember if he said that was his sixth, or he'd done six. It was one or the other. I'm thinking, brilliant. He's experienced. He knows what I'm doing. If I stay near him or I'm in front of him, then I know I'm doing okay and I'm probably going to be all right. And so I did, and I went past him, and I thought I don't want to be the guy who's like, "Oh, mate," and then sailing past him. So I didn't say anything. I just went past him, and then we started going around some downhill, some descents, picking up a bit of speed, and yeah, lo and behold, people are going past me on the descents. I'm like, "All right, so this is how it's going to be, is it?" And do you know what? I was absolutely fine with it. I thought I have a susceptibility to cramping. I know I my history in cycling when I've done the Preston Guild Wheel before, which isn't far at all in comparison to an Ironman distance or anything like that. I've had cramp in my VMOs, I've had cramp in my calves. Like there's a tendency for those to go. Nothing happened in training, but I wasn't going to take any chances. And I thought, as these people are going past me, I thought, well, if I can work on the uphill and I'm going past people, and then a couple of people go past me on the downhill, that doesn't really bother me. I mean, it does. Like, you don't want anyone to overtake you ever, obviously. But at the same time, like, it doesn't really matter to me. I just keep doing the work on the way up and let my legs recover as much as I can. Just take them over on the way down. That's totally fine.
Hmm.
And let my ass recover. If I need to get out the seat, I get out the seat and just hold the legs and let them recover. Um, so that was kind of what it was for like the first hour. Then there was a big climb, and I remember cleaning off maybe, I don't know, 30 people, and I thought, this is banging. This is great. I'm doing really good. Looks like I'm really good on a bike. And then it was about 10, 15 minutes later when I was on like the next part of that climb. It was long, long, long straight and a big climb. And I see people coming back the opposite way towards me fast. And bear in mind, a key point I've missed here is I've probably been in the lowest 2 years, like cycling between each one, depending on the incline or the gradient, for the last 45 minutes. So I don't, in fact, if I were to get up my speeds, I'm probably going, actually, I've got them here, probably going, well, I don't know how to find it, no faster than 5 miles an hour. I don't think, I wouldn't have thought. And then I see these people racing back the opposite way. I'm like, that must be the pros. They must be nearly done. I'm like, I've been cycling for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, maybe. I think it was about an hour and a half at this point when I saw the first one. And they're nearly done. I thought they started their swim. They probably finished their swim maybe, I don't know, let's just say worst case now, an hour before me. And in my head, I'm trying to think about where I'm at in relation to them and how long it's going to take me to do this bike ride based on how long it's taken them, which is a totally inaccurate measurement, as you'll find out. um, say come racing past and I'm looking at them and I'm counting them. I'm like, right, I'm going to try and find what position Ben's in. How's Ben getting on? And as I get towards the top of this big hill, I see him come racing down the other way. And I don't, he must have been in about 20th place as I'd been counting them. And I could tell it was him because he's got the same kit on as me, which is the Tri Central UK uniform, which is yellow, pink shoulder. It's quite distinct. And he comes flying down. It's his bike and his helmet. And just to put into perspective, this is my first ever triathlon, first ever Ironman, and I'm in gear one, probably, maybe going 3 miles an hour, maybe.
Just before you go into it, I just want to kind of frame this like at this point of the day, I'm getting ready to go to American football. So I've got up, eaten food, taken the dog out for a walk, driving to American football. And whilst I'm there, I'm looking on the map, obviously, to see where you are, to account for you, to account for Ben. And you can see the gradients. So the climbs that you talk about, I can see where you're going. And I
Right.
think I put a message in the family chat at the time, and I was like, boy, Chris is about to get some. He is about to attack that hill. I was like once he's over that bit, that's pretty much him in the clear on the bike. Because as long as he can get through that, the rest of it, he's going to cruise through. He's pretty much downhill. He can relax a little bit. It's just get that effort up that big ass hill. And I could see on the map that where the course runs, like obviously there is a bit of a loop, but there are points where you are coming back on yourself. So the route back does mirror the route out. And I could see you going one way, I could see Ben coming the other way. I was like, they're gonna go past each other. They are
Yeah.
going to go past each other. So carry on, carry on. What was that like?
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And, I knew that that was going to happen as well. And I wanted to be aware of it when it did, because the race was a big deal for me. He'd done a lot for me, and it was a big deal for him as well. And he'd shared his focus on getting me through it as well. So it was a big deal for me to see him doing really, really well, and to obviously see him finish it. And bear in mind, I'd have no experience of the different levels to that game. And I know that me and you are very similar in that sort of thing. We've got a lot of respect. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be baking cookies, it could be grating cheese, it could be cycling. It doesn't matter what it is. When you see someone who's really, really, really good at it, there's immediately a level of respect and a level of, yeah, I want some of that. I love that. And that's exactly what it felt like. I see him racing back the opposite way, and he's tucked up in his aero position, and he's like pedaling away. And I think we figured out I was going maybe, I think it was maybe 15 or 18 kilometers. So I just got the splits up, and at 42K, which I think we found it was about 40K, I was averaging 18.4 kilometers an hour,
Yeah.
and he was averaging 46. And yeah, he just comes flying past me the opposite way, and he just shouts, "Yes, mate, come on!" And he just literally like faster than you can blink, and he's gone, and you're like, "Holy shit, he's not hanging about at all." I remember looking at my watch, thinking, "Well, I know he's going to be faster than me. I know he finished the swim earlier than me, so that's 2 hours. So I reckon." And I don't know where I plucked this number from. I thought maybe 4.5 hours, and I'll be back here then. Maybe. I don't recall. It was something like that. In my head, I was like somewhat hopeful, thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna be back here soon," because he was. But that's just not how it that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
Went up this climb, around this corner, and downhill. And I think this was foggy. I'm not sure, but so Ben, obviously one of the Tri Central coaches, there's another guy there who sponsors them as well. He's one of the Tri Central coaches called Foggy. I think obviously he saw my colours, and he shouted something to me at this point. I have no idea what it was. And it was as I was starting to descend. And it was a long descent. And I just rested. I don't have aero bars on my bike. Um, so I kind of tucked up, but I was just trying to rest my legs, and I was trying to give my arse a break, because my arse was really fucking sore already at this point. So I tucked up, went down this windy road downhill, and it was, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes going downhill. And as I'm going down, I had this sudden realization, because there was obviously brief respite, because I'm thinking, well, I'm not pedaling, this is great. I'm going downhill, I'm picking up speed, I'm covering distance, covering ground. And then I realized, as I'm watching all these people cycle back up the other way, and I'm thinking, oh fuck. I'm gonna have to climb this. So that's what's happening right now. I'm coming down, and I remember seeing the map. And even though I'd not done the route before, I recall seeing the map, and it comes down, and you go down, and then you turn, come back on yourself, climb it again. And that was pretty rough. I was already, so that was two hours in, maybe 2.5.
Hmm.
I was like, I'm not joking. My legs were pretty uncomfortable. My ass was really uncomfortable on the saddle, and my triceps were cramping from being like suspending myself on the handlebars. I'm trying to show on the camera now, you can't see because it's too close. But imagine I've like locked my arms to try and use like the skeleton to put pressure through there, rather than like holding halfway so it's in my muscles. But obviously just my triceps are locked. And I've obviously been swimming as well, so it wasn't boding well. And as I came back on myself, I saw that guy again, and I was like, oh, bear in mind, I was not doing well with estimating my timings at this
I
point.
was
But
I was going to say, so like up to this point, what had been your longest bike ride in training,
uh,
both distance and time wise? Like,
distance, I don't know, because I'd been doing it on time on Zwift, and time wise, I had done a 5.5 hour on Zwift, which is, sorry, on Zwift, on my turbo trainer on the app, which is Zwift. And then the longest one that I had meant to do was a, I think it was 80 to 120 miles that I was meant to be doing. And I say that not as that was the target, it was somewhere between those numbers. I think it might have been 110 to 120. But what happened is that's when I came off my bike. And so it got cut short. So I think I'd done maybe 5.5 hours was my longest ride. I think that's the most that I'd done. And I think at this point, I was like, when I came off my bike, I was at about 5 hours as well. So yeah, 5.5 hours probably.
Yeah. So, and obviously, all the time that you're out on the course, you're also then playing in your own mind the game of the mental gymnastics of trying to work out where you are, how long you've been out there, and potentially how much more you have to go. Is that like what kind of like obviously I think that's a part of like kind of putting everything into perspective and framing it and just kind of playing the game and almost something just having something to do because it's a long time to be out there sat thinking. So what were the other things that kind of going through your mind at the time, either just to kill time, occupy yourself? Because I think you kind of highlighted already one of the powerful things to keep you going and motivate you is like ultimately picking on people, pick them off, go and chase them, go and overtake that person. I feel like that's always a big boost when you're able to do that. So what other things were kind of going through your mind and what were you using to kind of keep yourself going at that point?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think all of the things that you said was exactly what was going through your mind. Like you're looking at your watch, you're thinking, right, it looks like I've been going for maybe this amount of time. I reckon I might be done it in about this amount of time. One of the things that I kept thinking was I was seeing my bedtime come closer and closer towards me. And I was thinking, right, I want it to be done by this time. It doesn't look like I'm gonna make that window.
So were you aware of how long you'd actually been going? Had you got like a watch to track your overall event time? Had you got just something to even just track time of day? Like how was that working?
Just time of day. I just had a normal watch on and I was using it specifically to like help me fuel. So every 30 minutes, I was having an energy gel, and then every hour, I was having an energy gel worth of fuel again in my drink and my carb complex powder as well, which was in another bottle. So I was alternating between those two. So I was obviously checking time to figure out those things and make sure that I was fueling appropriately in order to not
Yeah.
cramp. Because that,
So sorry, I was just going to say, so roughly, because I think big part of this is not cramping and then also dehydration, just be in terms of being able to keep going. Because as soon as you get to the point where you've lost a lot of sweat and you're lightheaded, you're really struggling at that point. And obviously in hot conditions, and especially after you'd already been swimming and you were just drenched in sweat from that, roughly, how many bottles, how many gels, how much stuff had you actually taken out on this bike ride to carry? Because obviously, like even having that on you is like not the easiest thing.
yeah. So this is a funny one, and we'll get more to that and a funny story about that when I was climbing Mirador, which was the big climb. But I had three bottles. I had the bottle cage on the back that I could no longer access because I knew that if I used it, I couldn't put the stuff back. And it was a full bottle. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna drink some and then not have the rest. In my head, I thought what I'm gonna have to do is find a point where I can, like at an aid station, I'll take something, swap a bottle out, and put that one in that socket, if you will. We'll get to what I did with it. But yeah, so we had one which was full of my carb complex, which was a carb powder with electrolytes, and it was Go Isotonic, I think it was, by Strength Sport. So that was going to keep me hydrated. That was what that was for. And then I had specifically a fueling one, which was just carb powders. Sorry, carb powders, which was energy gels. and there were 14 energy gels in this particular bottle. So the idea was to try and finish the bike, to aim to finish the bike in about 7 hours, and then have
Sorry, when you said there were 14 energy gels in the bottle, had you got the energy? So the energy gels normally come in a sachet.
squeeze
Had
them
you
out.
put the full sachet in the bottle? Had you emptied it out?
Yeah, so I'd squeezed them out into,
Right. Okay.
yeah. So one of the things that you don't think about, like palate fatigue,
Yeah. Yeah.
sounds like nothing, but my God, when your stomach feels horrendous and your gut is in pain and you're trying to get through a difficult workout, squeezing the same textured thing into your gut every half an hour, it's awful. And it's just it's uncomfortable. And the way that I would describe it is like even if you do a long enough run, eventually the watch that's on your wrist will start annoying you because you can feel it against your skin. That's what it's like, but it's going into you. It was horrendous. But yeah, that was my main concerns were cramping and dehydration. And I thought if anything else is to happen, obviously I was slightly worried about the hamstring on my right leg because of obviously with the interval running, I thought I'll probably be okay as long as I don't hit it too hard. But if I don't fuel appropriately, I don't hydrate, that's what will stop me finishing.
Yeah.
So I've come back to do start this ascent, and the other thing that happened at that point was I saw people coming at it from the other side. So to imagine like a T junction, I'm coming at it from this way, other people are coming at it from this way, and we're all climbing. And I was looking at it thinking, where are these guys going? And then they're going past me on this climb, and I thought, well, no one's gone past me on a climb yet. And then loads of them, and I realized. So I need to do this climb twice. So this climb that I've obviously just watched everyone struggling get up it. I've now started going up it. I've just realized, oh no, this is the part of the map where I go up it, go around, climb Mirador, and then go around and then come all the way back around the island and then go up it again. And then I'm heading back. And I was like, oh my days. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. It felt like it felt like I'd been going for about 2.5, 3 hours. And I think it probably was about that based on my splits. And then it felt like it was another hour of climbing, just constant climbing, tension on the chain, like churning through in your lowest gear, not going anywhere. So get up that one, and then you go through this pretty little village town thing, carry on climbing, and then you get towards the ascent to Mirador, which was the top peak. And one of the other things that was getting me through it as well was I'd obviously spoken with Ben, and he was saying like when you are in it and you're really, really struggling, just like if you've got nothing else to do, just look around and kind of take it in because it is pretty crazy that you're hearing that you're doing this and there's far worse places to be and there's far worse things that you could be doing. And so that was kind of one of the other things that I was doing. But I don't remember if I told you this, but people sell Lanzarote as being a very pretty island, like beautiful and nice blue seas. And if I'm honest, mate, it's fucking not.
Well, that's you not welcome back in Lanzarote again, isn't it?
There were, like, don't get me wrong, some parts of it, of course, yeah, beautiful. The top of Mirador, the view is unbelievable, of course. But everything else, it was just volcanic wasteland, pain, volcanic wasteland and pain. And then if you were lucky enough to be somewhere high enough to be able to see the coast, then obviously you can see across into the ocean, you can see the other islands, and that was beautiful. But that didn't happen very often. So yeah, I started the climb on Mirador, and this lady says to me, as one of my past, she goes, "Wow, Chris, well done. You're absolutely smashing the uphill climb." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you." So I was like, "Thank you. You're doing well as well. Well done. I'm happy to be here." And she was like, "Literally, when you see the palm trees, it'll level out. This is the hard part now." And I thought, okay, all right, she knows what she's doing, clearly. So let's get to these palm trees. Anyway, she was a liar. The
Was
big
she, well, hold on. Can I just, was she real? Is she an actual person
I
or is
don't know, actually,
it just
that's a
happening in
great
your
question.
head?
That's a really good question. I
So,
think
we-
she
so,
did.
So we're at the point where this woman may or may not have existed in reality. She could have
Yeah,
existed and been very, very real in your head, giving you some really good motivation in the moment, but blatantly lied to you in the
yeah,
grand scheme.
yeah, yeah. I think so. So what happened? She said that to me, and I was like, right, let's look for these palm trees. And this is like at the base to start the climb to Mirador. And you kind of like going up and back on yourself, like sort of spiraling up. And there was this long, steep climb, just like the vast majority of the rest of the bike ride. And I could see there was an aid station coming up, and it was actually the personal needs station. So I knew that there were toilets there because I'd measured the track and stuff, and I thought, right, brilliant. I can I can get rid. Oh, okay, so I've missed something here. Sorry. As I'd started that climb, I'd missed a window to drink, and I needed some of my isotonic, which was the stuff that was in the back. And because I'd finished, sorry, I had one with what was it? I think I actually had two of the carb. It must have been two of the carb complex one, and I'd finished the first one, which was my isotonic, and I got rid of that at an aid station. And now my access to my isotonic was behind me. And I thought, well, if I grab that, I'm not going to be able to put it back. Sorry, I'd not got rid of this middle bottle. I don't know what the situation was. I don't remember. But I remember I had to take the bottle out from behind me, and then I was climbing the base of Mirador for about half an hour with this bottle in my hand because I could not get rid of it because I needed it. I needed it for fueling, but also I couldn't get it back in behind me. And you weren't supposed to litter on the course as well, apart from when you're at these aid stations. So I saw there was one coming up and thought, brilliant. I'll be able to get rid of one of these bottles and I'll be able to cycle normally again. So this is another one of the things that happened that you just don't think about. And I could have just got rid of it. Like I know I could have done, but obviously I didn't want to litter and I needed it and I needed the other one and I needed the other one. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm not going to waste them. So I'm climbing. And as I'm doing it, I think I'd kind of realized the position to be in to help me just trying to churn through these climbs was just had the bottle in my hand, other hand on the handlebar here, and just head down, just looking at the floor, just cycling up because it's just a long straight going uphill. And I'd realized like halfway up that my neck was in agony as well. Like I literally mean when I say every part of you is uncomfortable towards the end of that bike ride, every part of you is genuinely in a lot of pain. Going up this climb, I see this aid station. I'm like, right, I'm gonna sort out my bottle situation. And I'm looking and I'm seeing there's loads of people that have got off the bike and they're just like sat, sort of like scattered around. Some of them are laid down, and some of them have like taken the tops off, and they're just like, and you can see what's going on. People have got off for their aid station, for their personal needs, whatever, and they're not getting back on. They're halfway up this climb, and they've just you get off, and you have that moment of like you start to think about it because you're not doing it, you've lost momentum, and it's like why am I here? And if you're not there to genuinely really go and finish, if you're just kind of there because you kind of like the idea, they just got off and they've just not got back on. And there were loads of people there that were just, I think there maybe 20, 25, maybe 30 people. Again, could all be imaginary. We don't know. We don't know. But that had got off. And yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at them thinking, shit, should I not get off? Should I not get off the bike? Anyway, there was a toilet there and there's a next problem as well. There's two problems about to happen here. So I'm like, right, I'm gonna get off and I'm gonna go to the toilet. And then I look at my tri suit and it's obviously tight fitting, very tight fitting. And I try to pull the zip, and the zip is like it's like a how to describe it? A half zip from the top to I guess top of the abs, maybe just below the sternum. It doesn't go all the way down. Then you have to try and shimmy out of it. What I'd done is I'd pulled it and it had come loose of the zip and just left a hole at the top. I was like, so now I'm locked in my tri suit and I can't pull this down. So I tried pulling it up to then zip it down and nothing's happening. And I'm like, oh shit. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is impending. I need to move. I need to not get off and do nothing or just chill for a few minutes. I need to get back on as soon as I can and at least finish this climb because I know psychologically it's going to be far better getting off your bike after a climb or at the top of a climb to then get back on it. You can talk yourself into going back down, but talking yourself into carrying on going up again once you've stopped, that's really hard. And I wasn't willing to even go there. So I'm messing with it. It's not happening. So I'm like, right, fuck it. I'm just gonna not go. I'm just gonna have to not go or pace myself if I need to. And in the midst of that, let's call it chaos, internal chaos, I chuck my bottle and then get back on the bike and go. And 5 minutes later, I realize, I look on my watch, go to grab my bottle. I'm like, oh no, what have I done? I've just chucked my carb complex with my isotonic in and the bottle, and I didn't even replace it. So now I'm a bottle down, and the one that I've got is just energy gels. So I've not got anything to hydrate me. And I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. And I've got this big climb coming. Anyway, I'm cycling up, I'm looking for the palm trees, see the palm trees, supposed to get easy from the palm trees. She fucking lied. Don't know what her name is, can't remember what it was, but I think it leveled out for maybe 10 seconds and then you're climbing again. And I was heartbroken. I was like, this woman has no idea what she's done to me. Um, yeah, so start climbing again, and it's another, I don't know, maybe half an hour to an hour uphill, perhaps. And at this point, you really are. You just like head down. You can see how high you've climbed because you're looking across, and now you start to got some views. You can see everything. And part of me was thinking, do you know what? It's probably quite an easy way to die. If you're not a great cyclist like myself, getting yourself stuck up here, like starting to run out of fuel or run out of water, I was like, this is a pretty easy way to die, especially with how high you are. And there's not really any real barriers to stop you from going over the edge should you decide to do so. Um, and yeah, the other thing that I'm going to tell you as well is whilst I was climbing up these mountains, I was in my head, this is quite funny, I was singing The Climb by Miley Cyrus.
I'm not familiar with it.
You're
Don't
not.
know. You don't have to give us a rendition if you don't.
Okay. Well, it's all about how the end result is irrelevant for the most part. It's the journey is where the magic is. And her lyrics are, it's the climb. And just like I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming. And it's all about talking about how she's on the journey and the climb is where it all happens. Anyway, it was very fitting. And in
Miley
my head,
Cyrus got you through an Ironman.
yes, she did. 100%
And
would never.
she'll never know. Unless she listens to this podcast, she's never gonna know
She'll never know. She won't listen. But she
what an
did.
impact.
I know. I know. So, Miley, if you are listening, thank you very much. You got me through it. Good song as well, actually, even without the Iron Man. But yeah, and honestly, it was just going through my head, repeat, 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 repeat. Because, funnily enough, I don't know if I mentioned, because it was every hour of that 8 hours was just uphill. I don't know what to tell you. I know it says that some of it were downhill, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't. I
Even the
don't
downhill
know
stuff going up.
I remember getting to the top of Mirador and getting some cute photos taken. There's a couple of cameramen, and I remember looking across and I was like, this is Mirador, I know it is. And yeah, it was unbelievable view. Like you're at the very, very top of the island and you've climbed all that way, so it feels pretty good. And it's a beautiful day. It's hot. I think it was like 27 degrees at this point, or maybe it was between 27 and 30. So it was hot, clear blue skies, beautiful blue sea. Um, yeah, and you got like almost a bird's eye view of everything. So it was lovely. And then you start going downhill, and there was these, I don't specifically remember the order, but they call them switchbacks, which is essentially like a snake where you're going down. So your descent, it's very, very fast, but it's very, very dangerous if you're not controlling your brakes and coming back. And it was one of the things that Ben had said, like the descent is quite technical, which is why I'd said for your first one, I wouldn't actually bother with the aero bars. I would stick to steering the way that you used to steer in. And I think my pace picked up quite dramatically there. And I was like, brilliant, I'm boxing off kilometers here, like for sure. And in my head, I was aiming for 170 because I knew the last 8K was downhill, which in my head was 10K. And I thought, all I've got to do is 170K. That's it, because I can roll downhill for 10K easy. Um, yeah, so do the switchbacks. I'm thinking, right, this must be halfway. I must be halfway now. And it was only as I got towards the bottom, start climbing up another steep hill again, I was like, wait, hang on a minute. It's been like 3 days since I saw Ben. How on earth was Ben where I saw him like 4 hours ago? And now I'm like, I've got no idea where I was time wise. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, what time did I see him? How long is it? Has it been like, it's been like 4 hours. That means I've got another 4 hours to go, which obviously wasn't accurate. But in my head, that's where I was at. I was like, there's no way that's right. And I remember thinking, I saw him all the way back at, I don't remember what the place was. I'm now on the other side of the island. There's no way I'm going to be there in the next 2 or 3 hours. And by this point, it was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. And I'm weighing it up in my head. I'm like, I'm not going to finish my bike until like 8. And I was obviously going overboard and dramatizing it and making it, obviously, as you do, far worse than it was. Thinking, oh my God, like this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a long slog. This bike ride is killing me. And got to the bottom, started going around, and then I knew where I was kind of on the map. I was like, okay, I'm heading around the far end now to come back to that climb at that T junction. So I know I'm heading back now to where I saw the pros going up. And I've got that long slog, which I know is an hour uphill. And then it's coming back towards home, which is in my head like another 2 hours, another 2.5. So I'm thinking, I'm looking at another 4.5, 5 hours here. That can't be right. Surely not. And as I'm at that like place in my head, the guy that I'd seen in transition and after then goes past me on these flats. And at that point, I'm like, oh my days, this is not happening. What on earth? And I don't know why, because in my head, I wasn't competing against him. I was just thinking, like, I'd gone from doing really well to, uh-oh, I might not even finish in time. Like that was genuine. My head was like, you're not going to finish in time. And bearing in mind, at this point, every single part of me is already in pain. Like I can barely keep my bum on the seat for longer than 5 minutes because it's in so much pain. My legs are feeling heavy, weak, tight, getting a little bit of irritation, discomfort in my hamstring and my calf on my right side. My neck is in agony. It hurts just to pick it up to look to see where I'm going. So I'm trying to just let it hang. My shoulders are in pieces and my triceps are in pieces from holding onto the handlebars. And my back, obviously, from being in that rounded position, I was like, this is really uncomfortable. Hip flexors are feeling super tight from being cycling all day. I'm like, oh my days, this is really, and not only that, but feeling really sick as well. Like, and I'd missed 2 windows of isotonic, so I was well aware that I was well on the way to becoming dehydrated as well. So, right, I need to get to an aid station fast, and I need to get an isotonic. So I'd noticed that I'd missed a window, and at the next aid station, I'd asked for ESO being obviously what the Spanish set called the isotonic stuff, and they didn't have it. They had it in the next one. They were like, next aid station, next aid station. I'm like, well, how far is that? So I don't know if I'll make it. But thinking, well, they've all been like usually at the top of a climb, and I know that the next top of a climb for me is in about 2 hours. I'm thinking, uh-oh, I've grossly misjudged this. Um, yeah, and I remember getting to that ascent again at that T junction, climbing up, and I'm thinking, I know for a fact the aid station is up here because I've already been through it. And I know they've got isotonic because I've already been up it and seen. I just need to get there. I just need to get up this hill now. And again, I'm going past people. I go past that guy again on the climb, which obviously helped me massively. There's no more pros. All the pros are gone, far, long gone, long gone. So there's no one coming past me. but I'm going past people. So that really, really helped on those climbs. But I'm well aware that it's a race against time now because I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling really sick. Like I feel uncomfortable externally. My joints are starting to feel tired. I feel uncomfortable internally. My GI tract, my gut, everything just feels awful. I don't even know if I could stomach another energy gel. I'm looking at the time, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to have another before I have more of my isotonic or drink complex." I'm like, I'm not sure my stomach would hack it. I think I'd end up just throwing up. And bear in mind, if I was racing and I was a pro and I was used to it, maybe that's a choice that I'm sure I've heard Ben say this before. That's a choice that he would just choose to make at that stage because he's trying to finish and he's trying to get a fast pace. For me, I wasn't. I was just trying to finish. And any mistake like that, like for me being sick on that event, it might result in, I don't know, me getting off the bike and making a big to do about it and not really knowing how bad I am and then maybe stopping. You just don't know. I have no idea. Um, anyway, like probably an hour climbing, see the isotonic. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And in my head, I was looking forward to this bright blue, Powerade, the blue Powerade. I was looking forward to something like that because that's what I'd seen going around. I wanted this like cool, like light blue. I don't know what blue you would call it, like electric blue sort of thing. Anyway, they give me this yellow one. And it looks a bit like piss. I'm like, give it to me, give it to me. I need it, I need it. And they're giving it to me in a bottle as well. So I'm like banging. So I've got an actual bottle I can put in my bottle cage here. I have some, and it's like this fucking rancid lemon flavor. Oh, it was awful. And I thought, oh no, that was not what I needed. And I was like, oh, I remember spitting some out, and I remember looking at it thinking, actually, it's exactly what I need. So I'm just gonna have it. So I drank some more. And then yeah, that was it. That was a few more climbs, beginning the way back home. And yeah, the bike ride in total took me, let's see here. Oh, in fact, one key thing that I've missed, I'm sorry if we're short on time. If we are, I can wrap it up here with this last thing. I remember getting to just before, after that climb, you kind of go through a little village and a town, you circle back and you start heading back. And I knew that when I start heading back, it's the long descent where I saw Ben. And in my head, I thought, I think I saw him at about 40K, which means I'm trying to calculate in my head, and I'm like, that means I've got another 40K to go. And I remember thinking, I must be about 130K in, 130, surely, surely. And then I saw a sign, it was 130K, and I was like, right, okay. I'd rather it was 150, but 130 will do with it. And I started this long descent, and I'm looking at it thinking, I'm trying to gauge how long I've got left based on the distance and what climbs I've got. Because, like I said, honestly, I know there were downhills, but I don't, I don't recall them. Like I remember maybe three downhills and everything else was just uphill. You were just climbing the whole time. And I started this descent, and this was where I saw Ben. It's long, long, long downhill, long, long, long straight road. I'm looking to the end of it because I remember climbing up it, thinking this must be this must be 5K, surely. And I'm trying to gauge how fast could I run this road. And I'm cycling it, and I'm on this long straight for 25 minutes, half an hour maybe, at a decent pace because I'm going down and then flat. I'm thinking, that's got to have been 10K, as it were. Now, remember, I'm hunting down 170K in my head, thinking it's all downhill from there. So I'm expecting some more climbs and stuff. And I'm thinking, that's got to have been 10K. That must have been 10K that I've just done there. Carry on going around. I see no more signs. Probably another half an hour, maybe an hour goes by. And I'm thinking, this must be it. This must be about 160, 170. And then I see some people in the distance coming back on me, like back towards me. I'm thinking, that's weird. I wonder if this is like a turnaround point for the last descent. And then I remember saying to myself, if the next sign I see doesn't say 100, at least 170K, sorry, 160K, I'm going to cry. So remember, that point was 140, and I thought there was at least 10K there. then at least in my head, another 10K on top of that, I've got to be about 160, 170. Sure, I don't understand how I can't be. Geographically, mathematically, logically, there's no way I can't be. Anyway, if I don't see at least 160, I'm going to cry. Next sign, 150K. And I was like, and honestly, if people, no one saw it because no one was around. I was on my own at this point. But if anyone was watching on like a TV screen or something, what you would have seen is I literally there was just a brief moment where I was like, "What? There's no way. There's actually genuinely no way that that is possible. This is a joke now. This is a joke." And I thought this is exactly the conversation I had when I was getting out to swim. I was like, I knew this and I said this hours ago. You're going to get through part of that bike and think that's enough now. That's far more than long enough to be cycling. You're going to realize, oh, yeah, there's still more to go. And that was it. That was the moment. And that kind of like reset me again, threw me back in. And I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's just go. Like,
Was there any sort of anger towards the course, the distance? Like I think like in my head, like when I'd done like the ultra marathon, I was like I got to one point and I was just like I think I roughly worked out where I was and how much further it was. And I was in my head the words were F off. Like it just irritated me. It irritated me to the point where I was actually angry about the course and how long was left. And that actually helped me a little bit in terms of just pushing on. Like it didn't get to the point where like I understand you saying like, you want to have like a little emotional here, you want to, you have a little, you're gonna cry if if you see the next sign and it doesn't say what you think. But I think you kind of go through that phase and then it's just anger and pain on the other side of that. And you're like, if you can flip that and use that to kind of push you through, that's where it becomes advantageous.
yeah, absolutely. It was anger, it was frustration. I was so confused as to how I was at where I was at and how I wasn't further beyond. And I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. What a piece of shit. Like, it's lying. And then, yeah, in that moment, it was then like, right, wait, and what? What am I going to do about it? And in fact, I think I actually saw at that point there was a really nice canyon bike, which is like a high spec bike. They're very, very popular. Quite a lot of people have got them, but they're expensive bikes. I'm talking, it was probably 10, 15 grand worth of bike, and it was just parked up at the side of this straight. Oh, someone's just got off and just left it there. Like there was no one around. I remember thinking, like, is someone in serious trouble here? Because it's hot. Like I said, it's volcanic wasteland. There's nothing around. Like the bike's there. Is someone like 50 meters off in the rock somewhere? I also went as far as thinking maybe someone's gone crazy in the heat and just started wandering around. Like it was a proper TT bike. It had the numbers on, the official stickers. So it was obviously someone that was a competitor or racing. I thought maybe someone's got off to go to the toilet. I don't know. I have no idea. But part of me thought, you know what? If I was on that bike, I'd be going a damn sight faster.
You don't think
Um,
about switching.
yeah, and then I thought he's got stickers on. Yeah, there's probably no point. And I thought this bike has carried me to this point. It'd be a shame, and it would be disloyal of me to leave it here. So I carried on. I carried on, and yeah, I remember just kind of cracking on at that point. I think I became kind of numb to all of the aches and pains that I'd been feeling. I didn't do it consciously. It just kind of like, right, this is it. It's just is what it is at this stage. And I think because I'd acknowledged that I'd said I was gonna reach that point consciously, that kind of took me through it. And like my bum was in agony, but I couldn't really feel it anymore. My legs were obviously in pain, couldn't really feel them anymore, felt really sick, couldn't really notice it anymore, just unfazed by it at that point. It was just one of those where you just settle into it and you're just so used to it at that stage and you've accepted it. It's not like you're trying to fight it. I've just accepted it and it's okay, fine, let's go. And I was still in front of this guy as well that had kind of back and forth. He'd gone past me a couple of times. I'd gone past him. And I saw him as I switched back to come back on that point where I'd seen those people. I was coming back and saw him, and I was like, right, he's half an hour behind me, so we're looking good. And I'm at the back end now. I've nearly finished this bike ride, so happy days. And then again, I just remember feeling jubilant when I got to that 170k, and I was like, right, it's all downhill from here. Let's go. Let's get some speed up, and let's get back in. Um, yeah, because I knew that obviously Ali, my dad, Lani, and Ben would be waiting for me. I assumed that Ben would have been finished, and I thought that they've obviously just been doing whatever for the day. They're there to support me, and I've been gone for I don't know how long. So, and at this point, it's very, very hot. It's very hot. I've missed another two windows for fuel. I'd got no energy gels left. I think I'd accidentally thrown my energy gel bottle with the last of my gels, thinking it was the ISO drink. So yeah, not a good position to be in. But it was the last 10K. It was downhill, just going down, feel like, oh yeah, you know what? This is a nice course. And by the way, it was that last 8K going downhill, going around the winding roads, you know where you're going again. And so it's like, right, okay, I know what I'm doing here. Everything feels better when you've done it before. And then I remember coming back in and got off the bike and yeah, went into transition to get my run on. I remember actually thinking, there was a point, I don't recall when it was specifically, but there was a point where I was thinking, how can I get out of this run? How can I, what could I do to not have to do this run? Because I remember looking at the time on my watch and thinking, right, it's like, I don't know, 4 p.m., 5 p.m. I want to be in bed for 8 p.m. I've been up since 4 p.m., 4 a.m. I'm thinking I could do with not needing to run a marathon right now. And I don't even know if I could. And I'm thinking I've run out of fuel. I've not been hydrating properly. This is going to be pretty ugly. And remembering that Ben had said to me the day previous, it's like most of the race for you, for people trying to finish, it's man management up until the last 10 miles of the run. And then that's where it's like if you've not managed yourself well, you'll fall to pieces there. And if you have
Yeah.
managed yourself well, you'll be able to finish. And so that's kind of running through my head. Yeah, so I got into transition, put some more sun cream on, and had another go going to the toilet, unzipped the tri-suit, managed to sort the zip out, take it off my shoulders. It was a proper faff because it was so tight and you're so sweaty. It was a proper faff. Managed to get back on. It probably took like honestly 10 minutes of just trying to get the tri-suit back up over my shoulders. And yeah, went out towards transition to start the run. Yeah. And I've no idea what time that was. Must have been about 5 o'clock, maybe, probably. Yeah, and I just remember thinking, right, half marathon to go. I've got no fuel on me. I'm just going to use the aid stations.
Well, I think I remember in the context of the day. So I'd had an American football game. I'd warmed up, played, kicked off, finished, and I think we were walking. So we walk along the stands at the end of the game. Doing meet and greet with supporters and signing kids' jerseys and stuff like that. And I remember speaking to Fiona and asking her how you were getting on, and she was like, "He's just about to start the run."
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, it's like 6 o'clock or half five or something like that. I'm like, good lad. So I was pleased to know that you were still going. And I was thinking, "Oh, that's long. That's a long day." And I think I said, do you know what? I might do like a marathon rowing solidarity with him when I get home. But Tony and Linda were here and we had food and everything. So it was like, it would have been a bit rude of me to kind of ignore that, brush that off, and then just come and sit in here on the rowing machine for a few hours. But I was thinking, yeah. So anyway, we that for me kind of put it into perspective as to just how long the day had been for you. Bear in mind, you were up way before I was. You were competing from before I was up. I was in bed enjoying a coffee, watching you go through the swim, taking the dog for a walk, coming back, eating breakfast, going through my pre-match stuff, then warming up, playing, and finishing a game of American football all in the time that it had taken you to do the swim and the bike ride, to then have dinner and actually be back in bed before you finished was,
Oh man.
yeah, would really help kind of frame it for me and put it into perspective as to how long a day it must have been for you. I think just going back to the marathon, so you start the run. I saw a clip where I think Ben had obviously finished taking his stuff back to the apartment or wherever he was staying and then come back down to kind of support you, which I think is absolutely mint. And I remember hearing him on the video clip where he's shouting, if it feels like work, slow down. And you were kind of like, you had that look about you. You were like, if I go any fucking slower than this, I ain't finishing. It was that kind of thing. You were like, yeah. And then, I mean, obviously, how would you summarize the run? What was that experience like? Because I think you're down on the coast, you're by the front, sunset. There's a lot more people around. I imagine that contrast with the bike ride, I imagine the bike ride is very much a lonely place to be. Everyone's very spread out. I know you passed Ben at one point, but then there's not a lot else going on around the bike because it's such a long course. But the marathon is kind of condensed into that two 10Ks and then a 5K each way to finish. Is that right? Or
Yeah.
something like that. So you're kind of going up and down the same bit multiple times. What was that like? Repeatedly running around the same bit when you'd clearly had enough. And then also like with the crowd, the atmosphere and the people around, like did that pick you up and kind of push you along at any point?
No. No. I think yeah, when I started the run, I was I didn't feel like I was in a great place physically. Like everything was already hurting, everything was already sore, but I was just happy to be off the bike. Very similar to coming out of the swim. I was like, right, I'm excited to run. Except I wasn't excited to run. I was just excited to not be on the bike. And I genuinely felt like the run was kind of me accepting that I was going to finish. I knew that where I was at time wise and pacing wise, like as long as I didn't like break down, like as long as I didn't pull a calf or anything like that, I was going to finish at this point. So I was pretty happy about that. But everything was sore and I'd run out of fuel, like I said, and I was relying on aid stations at this point. I set off and I was like, right, I'm just going to go at a steady pace to start with. I think my first 10K was maybe an hour 10.
Hmm.
It was an hour 10, which was absolutely right on for me. That's like a good, steady zone
Yeah.
two
Well, I,
pace.
I I remember watching your tracker very keenly once you'd started the run because obviously I'd got the time to do it and sat around with family. And I remember thinking, like, this first 10K is important because I was like, if you run faster than an hour for this, you're probably going to cause yourself a few problems.
Yeah, and I think I remember saying to you and some other people as well that I was going to try and average 7 miles an hour for my run, which would get me through the marathon in, I think it was somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. I actually can't remember, which is terrible, I know. But I was remember piecing together. If I run at 5 miles an hour, you're looking at like 5.5 hours sort of thing. Whereas if you run at 7 miles an hour, you're shaving quite a significant amount of time off that. And I'm trying to make it as short a day as possible, obviously, which I know my times don't show that, but that's what I was trying to do. So I went out and did that first 20K pretty comfortable. And then it was when I got back from that first lap, I then saw obviously Dad, Ali, Ben, and Lani, saw those guys as I'd been in, got my second band, sorry, to start my second lap, the first 5Ks, and they were shouting across at me. And that's when he said, if it feels like work, slow down. Don't do anything stupid. Just finish now. Like you're here, just finish. Like, and yeah, I was pretty grateful at that point. I felt a moment of gratitude because I thought they just need to go home. They should. He's done this race twice as fast as me. He probably feels worse than me. like he should just go home, but he didn't. He chose to come and wait for me and cheer me on, and the same for Lani, obviously as well. It's a long day for her, and she had no reason to be there. She was just there because he was there and because she cares about me and wanted to watch. So I felt gratitude for both of them, and it was nice to see them, like seeing people like that. And even if it's a 5 second interaction, it takes all of your physiology, all of your focus off everything about how you're feeling, and it just puts it out there somewhere. And it's like, okay, yes, cool, great to see you guys. I love you both. I'll be back in about an hour. Disappear off. Um, and then what happened was I was very close to throwing up, and I noticed that they were doing Coca-Cola at the aid stations. I was like, right, I need to get something in my belly and I need to like carry on fueling despite the fact I'm close to throwing up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna fall apart.
Mm.
I'm sipping Coke and it's giving me a pretty bad stitch. I'm like, oh, how do I feel now? I just need to try and run through this. I can't walk. If I walk, I'm not going to start running again.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like trying to run. I've got this aching stitch. It's like bearing a hole through me. And I remember going from one aid station, running all the way to the next aid station. I was like, right, I'll walk through the aid station. Second I finish the drink, chuck it, go again. And that's what I did. And that's what I kind of stuck to at that point. And I could feel my calf getting like tender on my right leg where I'd had the hamstring issue. The hamstring was a bit tender and the calf was a bit tender. I was like, right, electrolytes. I need more isotonic. I need more electrolytes. I need to hydrate properly. So I'm taking on water at the aid stations, making sure I've got one of those, and then a fuel. And then I went to have this it was an energy bar, and I thought, right, let me try something else because clearly my stomach has just had loads and loads of energy gel, missed some liquid, and now it's having water and coke. Maybe it just needs something like solid, or more so to line it. So I tried this thing and it was fucking rancid. Once again, it was awful. I mean, I felt like I had to try it. Oh, in fact, actually, sorry, I got two things. I got that, and I got this salt and energy tab thing, and I tried the I think it was some caramel chocolate flavor, which I would not choose, but that's what they gave me as I went to take it, and it was horrible. So I got rid of it. Tried opening the salt thing, and I couldn't open it. Like I just could not open the packet thing, so I got
Mm.
rid of that as well. Got to the next aid station and I just body literally started breaking down. Everything was breaking down at this point, starting to feel like I'm on the cusp of cramp in my calf and in my hamstring. Um, Knees were starting to feel a bit tender, ankles weren't feeling great, my foot wasn't feeling great, my back felt excruciating, my neck was screaming at me. So I was like, right, we'll run when we're between, and then I'll walk through the aid station, take on the fluids, take my time, and then run again. Yeah, so that's what I was doing. And I think because it was the laps, like you say, it was nice because it was beautiful scenery, it was hot, but the sun was going down at this point when I'm running. And it literally goes from day to night. While I was running, it went from like peak day and really, really hot to it was still hot in the evening, but dark. I finished in the dark. And it was like it went from the people that are out during the day to the people that are out during the night, which in Lanzarote, not my kind of people. Like there were a lot of people that were 99.9% of people were really supportive and really nice. And there was that 1% who were just like unnecessarily rude to either me or to other people. There were a few comments about like body shape, body type, like nothing that bothered me. But I'm thinking like this person's been like fucking working hard for the last 15 hours. You sat there having a fag outside a restaurant. I think that's the thing that makes it worse as well. It's like the smells and
Mm.
like when you feel sick and you've been doing a lot of exercise for a lot amount of time and it's hot as well. I don't want to smell curry mile. I don't like it. It really affects me. So in my head, I was just like, just fucking strap on a pair, mate. Like, what you, what you're going to give up because of a smell? Come on, you're not going to stop, so just don't complain about it. It was kind of like that Marcus Aurelius, like, if there's nothing you can do to change it, you don't need to vocalize it, just crack on with it. So that's where I was at in my head. Um, and there'd be like groups of hen parties or girls going past, and it's just a strong smell of perfume. Like it's like, oh my God, bloody hell, just like overbearing, overpowering, and it's just all your senses are like I was semi-conscious at this stage. I think there was I ran the first 20K with my laces untied. Forgot to say that. I didn't want to bend down and tie it because I thought if I cramp, so I was worried about that. So when I finished my first 5K out, 5K back lap, so that was 30K. That was when I actually asked, well, one of them, Ali, my dad, Ben, Lanny, one of them, I was like, please, can one of you tie my lace? And I remember Ali saying to me, she was like, can you see? I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you're not looking anyone in the eyes. You just sort of seem like you're not really there. Like, she didn't say this to me at the time, by the way. Sorry, she said this way after. She knows that wouldn't have been very helpful at the time. Um, but yeah, it was like your eyes glazed over. You weren't really there. And I was just like looking around, sort of like, what? Yeah, bless him. I'd asked if someone could tie my lace, and Ben was like, "Come here, get signed." And I'm like, "I didn't mean you." Like, and he's like, "Oh, because someone else did it. I think I'm stuck." So yeah, some time my lace, and then saw them, and I was about to start my last 5K out, 5K back. Gave everyone a high five, bust, and hugs. I was like, right, this is it then. This is it now. I'm gonna go, and I'll be back in about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half at this pace. And I remember Dad shouting, "Hurry up!" So I went round, got my last wristband. They actually tried to funnel me into the finish, and I was like, I can't do that. Can't do that now. No chance. I want nothing.
That's a test, that isn't it? That's an integrity test right there. Like, look,
Oh,
you've got another 10K run, or you can just come over here, finish, get your medal, and fuck off home.
and what it was as well is so I wear my My Zone strap, so you get a wristband for every lap that you do, and the last lap is a red strap, a red
Right.
band. So they must have seen this and they were looking at me like, "What?" I'm like, no, no, this is my My Zone. And she, oh, okay, pops it on, come out, and I remember going up. So that into transition, it's a descent down onto the beach into this tent, and it's set up. It's like an arena. It's not you running on sand, but it's down and then you go around, then you come up again. And I remember as I was going up, I felt my left calf. I was like, oh no, that was not what I needed at the start of this lap. And I come back through, and the support at that point is like I said, I feel like I've been a bit unfair because obviously I've said about some of the things that some people were saying, but actually there must have been probably 5,000 people or so that I came across on that day that have no idea who I was, and they were all cheering for me. Like, there's so many people who are just walking by and like, well done, mate. Well done. You are absolutely crushing it. And yeah, it can go one of two ways. One, like, part of you, sometimes you think, shut the fuck up, leave me alone. And then part of you thinks like, thank you. I appreciate that. And anyone who vocalized anything to me, I tried to make it as clear as I could. Listen, I thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Or I'd give them a thumbs up if I didn't have the energy to talk. And there were loads. There were so many people. I come out and they're all like, "Go on, you're on your last lap. Come on, come on." But yeah,
That's pretty cool. Like, I will say that is in stark contrast to when I did my ultra. So when I did my, like you saying there's about 5,000 people lining the streets. When I did my ultra, literally you running through the roads of Hertfordshire, and you've been down by canals and stuff like that. There's fucking no one around. There's literally not a person. Like, that's, you don't see anybody. And then the final bit into the finish line to where they'd got this inflatable like arch going up is just across a cricket field. There's no one there. I remember like we just like jog across the cricket field. You go through the timing gate at the end, hand in your timing chip, give Alex a fist bump, my client, who I did it with, and then that was it. We just went and sat with our feet in a paddling pool and chilled out. And I went off and had a massage upstairs, got my calves done, and like that was it. There was nothing else. It was just complete anticlimax. Like, yep, all right.
Wow. Yeah, no, I think that would have been.
But
I think,
I think an Iron Man is like way above that. Like that's a yeah, it's much better than a low level ultra run.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's better. I know it's obviously for me it was a longer day, but I think they definitely go above and beyond to make sure that it's worthwhile when you actually do cross that finish line. The start line, the atmosphere, and then obviously for the finish as well, it's class. And especially there, because they do it there every year and it's kind of renowned for being one of the hardest ones. Like a lot of the locals and the tourists, because obviously they close off all the roads that you're on, bar maybe a couple they're like well behind you. They're supporting you. It's just people are people, and every now and then you'll come across someone who shouts something fucking rude to you or something. But yeah, it was meant like the last stretch is like obviously there's the arena, which is the finish arena when you come down through the stand, and it's like the actual finish line where there's people sat in this actual stand. And just before that, up the beach where you're running, it's probably like 200 meters where they're just lined up either side, just stacks on stacks on stacks of people that are just cheering you on, ringing bells, shouting, supporting. Like it was class. And then obviously as you carry on running, the further and further away from that finish line you go, the less people there are lined up, like stood specifically watching, but there's still volunteers at aid stations. You're literally running up the front. Try and imagine you're on holiday. You're running up the front and there's people just they've come out to have the tea with the family or with the friends, and they're just sat at the restaurant outside, smoking or drinking or like. And there's people that'll offer you a beer, like the sat at the restaurant, like, "Do you want me to get you a pie, mate?" like, like being really supportive. And then obviously there's people that are just walk. They're literally just out for a walk in the evening, like, "Well done, well done." They'll stop and they'll give you a little clap. Yeah, it was class. And then as you finish in. Um, yeah, it was. I think there was a moment where I was like, I think I turned to start my last 5K, and in my head I was like, wow, this has been this has been a pretty good day. This has been pretty crazy, and it kind of sort of all hit me there. And I think I was probably not consciously doing this, but subconsciously doing it to be like just be aware of that you're gonna have a massive array of emotions when you cross the finish line. Are you ready for that? And so I think it kind of like it hit me all a little bit early because I was like, this is it now. I'm coming home. They're all going to be there waiting for me. All the training, it's all come together, and I'm going to cross the finish line. Like it's going to be mint. It's going to be sick. And yeah, I remember slowly plodding my way. I'll put the video up actually at some point where you just see the speed that I crossed the finish line. It's honestly, it's an amble. It's so slow. But yeah, I remember coming down that ramp and I was like, I ain't speeding up. I'm not gonna try and sprint this or anything. I'm gonna slowly take this in, just get across the finish line. And then yeah, and that's what I did. I came across the finish line, everyone's cheering. I don't know how many people, I don't know what size to kind of say to give people an idea of how big the finish line was, but it's like a finishing theater, if you will. And there's just stands, maybe like 5 to 10 rows of like seating either side, and then obviously music playing, and they've got an MC that's like announcing names and times and stuff and flashing lights. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's the business. And I remember running through the line. I remember seeing on that last lap the guy again. He's coming to sort of finish his last 5K out as I'm coming back in from my last 5K in. And I sort of seen him, didn't really recognize, didn't really acknowledge at first. And then I looked again, I was like, gave him a thumb, he gave me a thumb. And yeah, went and finished. Went through the line. Ben was there waiting for me. Little high five slash one of these, not a high five, whatever you call it. Embraced each other, and he was like, Ali and your dad are just over there. They're just in the stand here. If you want to go see them, and then I'll meet you back here, and I'll take you through. So I ran through the red line, went and saw them. Ali gave me a big hug. They did a video. And yeah, I mean, Ali just gave me a really big hug. And I think it was just in my head, I was like, I wasn't really there. I don't think at that point. I think it was such a long day and I was so tired and my body was broken. My mind was in pieces and I'd finally done it. And I was just like vacuous. I remember just like, again, there's a video of this where I'm just staring and she was talking to me. I have no idea what she was saying. I had a bit of a headache, presumably from dehydration, stomach still in pain. Uh, yeah, my dad was really proud. He said some really nice things, and I went through to the final 10, the athlete 10, and Ben was like, "Mate, get yourself something to eat." And I just looked at it all. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be sick." He was like, "Honestly, try some meal, at least try a drink." I went to get some apple juice from one of those dispensers. So, you get like hotels where you sort of press your cup onto it and it comes out, and it was like a thick, claggy drop of, I don't know what it was. I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, that's me not drinking anything then. Fair enough. And then honestly, there's like the tent's full. It's like a banquet of all these different cuisines, these different things you could have. Ben picked up a burger for me because he assumed I wasn't going to grab anything because it sounded like I wasn't going to. We sat down and he was like, I knew you weren't going to eat anything, so I've got you this. Make sure you try and eat something. And then he opened it. He was like, you know what? Never mind. I was like, I looked at it and it just looked like, I don't know, it looked like it was plastic. A lot of the food looked really good. It did look really good, but I just, it's like you feel sick. I wasn't in a place to eat. But yeah, sat down and sort of absorbed it all. And Ben was like, "So when I said to you, I reckon we could probably go from zero to an Ironman in 16 weeks. You've just done Lanzarote on 14." I think he said 12 or 14. I think he said, I can't remember either. And then, and he was like, that's pretty good going, that mate. And I was like, yeah, yeah, it's pretty good going. That. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with it. And honestly, it was so fucking hard. It was hard in the sense of you have to keep going, but it was so easy in the sense of all you have to do is keep going. Like you have to have a baseline level of fitness. You have to be good enough to swim that far, good enough to cycle for that long, and good enough to run that far. And as long as you can, you just have to not stop because at some point in the swim, you want to stop. At some point in the bike, you want to stop. And in multiple times in the run, you can't be asked. And it was just carry on. Despite, yeah, I get it, your toes fucking hurting. Yeah, I get it, your foot's facing backwards. Yeah, I get it, your knees not straightening anymore. Just fucking carry on at that stage. And yeah, I was super happy, super proud. To the point where I actually forgot to go and collect my finished t-shirt and medal at that stage. So, sorry, they hand you the medal at the finish line, but I forgot to go and get the t-shirt and the wristband and the pack stuff. So I totally forgot about that, and I didn't even know, to be fair. And yeah, went and found Ben. Sorry, I was with Ben. Went and found. Oh, sorry, the guy actually came up to me. He finished, and he came while me and Ben were sat down talking. I was like, "Hey, you did it!" And he was like, "You did it, mate. That's some going. That. What did you think to that bike ride?" And I was like, "What did I think to it?" Um, yeah, it was shit, mate. He was like, "Did you ever think you were going downhill?" I thought the exact same thing. I introduced him to Ben. I was like, you should ask Ben what he thought of it because Ben's one of the pros, and I think he finished in like I can't remember what I told the guy, but I think Ben finished in like 8 hours and 20 minutes, something
Hmm.
like, which is nearly half the time, literally nearly half the time it took me to finish. Yeah, so the guy started talking to him, and yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Walked out, we all got back together, and yeah, it was right. Let's go home and go to bed. Ben actually drove me. He put my bike in the car and drove us back. Well, he drove me back to our place. And yeah, I dipped my feet in the pool. I just sat on the edge of the pool for a couple of minutes and just sort of had a moment where I was thinking about it, just thinking, wow, I've I've done it. Like this is something that I really, really fucking wanted to do. I wanted to box this off. And yeah, I was just super proud, super happy. And honestly, it was a great holiday. It was a beautiful location. like where we were in Lanzarote, we were very close to the beach. It was, you know, 25 to 35 degrees. Lowest temperature was probably like 25. Beautiful blue sky, really nice location. All the surroundings were good. Sea was beautiful. Obviously with dad as well, which was really, really good. And yeah, took it all in. And then the following morning, we had a bit of a mishap. This is when we were on FaceTime to you. So there was a point where obviously for the people listening or watching, Alex called the following day just to see how I was and talk to me about it and everything, to get an update and tell me he's happy and everything. And we're sat by the pool. I'm literally feel so hungover, and it was 11 a.m. and we thought we had time in the property until about 4 or 5 p.m. We were meant to be flying later in that evening. And the guy who owned the place come up to us and he went, just to let you know, checkout is 11. And I just remember hearing Ali go, okay, yeah, that's fine. What time is it now? And he was like, 11. And bear in mind, obviously, I've slept for maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. It was good sleep to be fair, but I just still felt awful. Felt weird, agitated, wanted to move, but didn't have any energy to move, wanted to eat, but felt really sick, wanted to sleep, but couldn't sleep. So that's why I was just like dangling my legs in the pool, felt
Yeah.
hot. And yeah, he was like, right, you gotta go. You're gonna have to leave. So like shit, I need to take my bike apart, put it in the bike box. We need to tidy up. We've got food. I've got a kilogram bag of rice that I've not yet finished that I need to get through. We've got all mess in the kitchen and in the dining room part of the villa. So yeah, it was like, oh,
Yeah,
um,
I remember that. I remember that well because obviously I phoned Dad to speak to you and see how you were doing, see how you got on. And I remember having a brief conversation with you, and when 'cause we FaceTimed you, and Dad kind of got the camera on you, and you were just, I think you were sat at the time with you had your legs dangling in the pool, and you were just kind of like in your own little bubble of just like, ugh. I don't even know if there's that's probably the only way you can describe that is just ugh, like that feeling. But yeah, I remember having a brief chat to you when you were you'd been in better states. I think it's always tricky coming out of like an event like that and a challenge like that and dealing with I think dealing with the emotional aspect of it, dealing with the physical aspect. But yeah, from my part, super proud of you. And I was absolutely buzzing when you crossed the finish line. I was delighted for you. I think me and Fiona were both very, very pleased, very, very proud. And yeah, I always believed that you were going to do it. And I mean, as soon as I'd seen that you finished the swim, I was like, game over. He's done. He's got it. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, but in my mind, I was 100% confident that you were going to be able, you'd have the mental fortitude to stick it out, which is ultimately what it is. Like you said there, it's go slow, keep moving forwards. If you keep doing that, you'll get there in the end. So yeah, super proud of you, bro. And I think it's absolutely mint achievement. So very, very well done.
yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it was really tough and it was a really long day. And I think probably one of the only reasons that I didn't end up crying at the finish line was because one, I had no energy, and two, I had no tears because I was dehydrated. I was
Don't lose any more water or salt.
done in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically, just totally done, totally packed.
Well, it's been mint to talk through it and relive it with you and break it down a little bit. Hopefully, it's been a great listen for you guys listening. If you've got any questions or you want to speak to Chris about it, drop him a message. Um, and yeah, hopefully, you've enjoyed these last two episodes. I think it's been a hell of an experience over the 12-week learning curve going into the event, and then the event itself certainly a big deal. So very, very well done, Chris. And thank you guys for being a part of it and coming along on the journey with him. And that is it for today, episode number 137. Take care, guys. See you again soon.